It's hard to state just how revolutionary the Portal games were when they first launched. After being adapted from a student project, Portal went on to receive numerous Game of the Year awards, Companion Cube plushies can still be found all over the place today, and the cake is a lie meme forever entered the internet lexicon. That was all just Game 1. Portal 2 expounded on every part of the experience. The puzzles were more elaborate, they took us even deeper into the Aperture Science facility, and they included new elements like gels and gravity lifts. And then, that was it. As much as fans want one, there has never been a Portal 3. There have been attempts to make more games in the series. Portal Stories Mel is a fan-made prequel to the first game, with Mel being the mother of Chell, the protagonist of the main series. There was even an official, albeit cancelled project called F-Stop, which for all intents and purposes was going to be a new Portal. Other puzzle games have attempted to fill the void of Portal 3 to varying success. Cube and Cube 2, the Talos Principle, Antichamber, and even The Witness scratched the same itch to some degree. None of those quite hit the same spot for me, but there is a game that I believe is the closest thing we're gonna get to a proper Portal 3. That game is Quantum Conundrum.
So if I understand you correctly, you're presenting the hypothesis that Quantum Conundrum is essentially Portal 3 by virtue of being a spiritual successor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Then please proceed with the proper method.
Sure thing, Professor. Thankfully, we don't need to go through the entire scientific method. We've already cleared all of these steps. Now it's time to go through the last 4. In terms of conducting the experiment, making observations, and drawing conclusions, our best bet is to simply start talking about the games. Let's do that. This is Narbacular Drop. It's the DigiPen Institute of Technology student project that led to the creation of Portal. In fact, the entire student team was hired by Valve to help develop it. Among those creators was producer Kim Swift, a name that's very important to Quantum Conundrum. These days, Swift is leading the charge on Microsoft's cloud gaming, but in 2009, she had left Valve to join the now defunct Airtight Games. This shared DNA is important to the creation of Quantum Conundrum, and not just because it made it easy to insert references in the game's dialogue.
I suppose having the ability to teleport would make this a lot easier.
Airtight Games released Quantum Conundrum in 2012, just 1 year after Portal 2. Swift's team wanted to create a puzzle game like Portal, but nothing that would be compared directly to it. Sorry about this video then, Kim.
Do not apologize for science, though it is good to give preference to creators for what they intend with their work.
That voice you heard before was Professor Fitz Quadrangle, who starts the game trapped inside a strange pocket dimension. That's totally the type of guy that Aperture Science would hire, by the way. You play as his nephew, whose visit to the house turns into a mission to rescue Uncle Fitz from his predicament. The voice itself probably sounded familiar too. That's John Delancey, best known for playing Q in the Star Trek series. Constant voiceover is a staple of these games. Portal 1 features GLaDOS, the infamous supercomputer who runs you through all manner of malicious tests.
Once again, excellent work. As part of our required test protocol, we will not monitor the next test chamber.
She returns in Portal 2, along with fellow computer core Wheatley, who's voiced by Stephen Merchant.
Oh, that's me they're talking about!
And of course, Portal 2 also features the illustrious J.K. Simmons as Cave Johnson, the high-strung founder of Aperture Science.
When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make life take the lemons back. Get mad! I don't want your damn lemons! What am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager!
In every one of these games, the voiceover is ubiquitous, commenting on your progress, waxing poetic about the past, or sometimes being outright antagonistic. The commentary dances around encouragement, sarcasm, irony, and at times, even fear. One thing's for sure, no matter what kind of puzzle you're solving, someone will have something to say about it.
The birth parents you are trying to reach do not love you. Please hang up.
Oh, that's sad. But impressive. Maybe they worked at the phone company.
On the flip side, there are silent mascots. In the case of Portal, the aforementioned companion cubes are, well, your companions in many puzzles. They can weigh down switches, redirect lasers, and at times even make me feel uncomfortable when they're fused together with turrets in some sort of The Fly scenario. Oof. Quantum Conundrum's mascot is much cheerier. The interdimensional kinetic entity, aka Ike. He's present in just about every puzzle, usually there to hand you an all-important battery that will charge up the dimension switch in each chamber. When he's not directly helping you out, he's popping out of the walls to check in on you, something you'll notice that Wheatley does himself in Portal 2. Portal's turrets are also noteworthy. Valve could have just made them into deadly traps, but instead they're beaming with personality. They call out when they spot you, check in when you've left their line of sight, and even yell in some sort of robotic pain when you trip them up. Quantum Conundrum's robot companions don't endure such violence, but they still embrace the same animated spirit. Desmond the drinking bird bobs up and down, hitting switches that have various effects on the puzzles. Dolly, the dynamic object linear ligation interface, is a cloning machine that spits out copies of household items like desks, couches, and safes. At the end of the day, all of these are dressed up pieces of puzzle solving. The turrets are obstacles, Desmond is a timer, and Dolly spawns more items if they get lost while you're trying to find the solution. But by giving them all personality, both Valve and Airtight Games make them much more memorable.
You know, we had our own Dolly here, the sheep that gave birth to the clone, and I just got the joke, okay.
We've talked around the puzzles enough. Let's talk about them directly. If you're watching this video, then you probably don't need an explanation of the portal gun, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway. It shoots two portals, blue and orange. Step in one, and you come out of the other. This is your means of scaling walls, slipping through fences, and even launching yourself through the air by building up momentum. Quantum Conundrum sees you swapping between 4 dimensions. The fluffy dimension, where everything is super light, the heavy dimension, where it weighs a lot more, the slow dimension, where everything moves at a snail's pace, and the reverse gravity dimension, where objects are pulled toward the ceiling. Quantum Conundrum is sort of an inverse of Portal in the way these play out. Where that game is about moving within a space by creating openings in the world, here we change the properties of the world itself, allowing us to pick up objects, break glass, leap across gaps, and even surf across objects in motion.
That wasn't horrible.
Notably, all of these puzzle mechanics are color-coded. Like I mentioned before, the portal gun fires both blue and orange portals, depending on which button you press. Similarly, Quantum Conundrum's 4 phases always give your screen the same overlay. A bluish-white for fluffy, a deep red for heavy, a grainy yellow for slow motion, and a bright green for reverse gravity. This is a pattern you'll see in many puzzle games. Color recognition is important for players, giving a quick reference during the more hectic moments. Accessibility was not as recognized at the time, but more modern games like Puzzle Bobble 3D now offer colorblind modes as well. In the age of Portal and Quantum Conundrum, contrasting colors were chosen. Note how the 4 dimensions are spaced evenly around a color wheel. That way, there's less of a chance of them being confused for one another. In the case of Portal, blue and orange are direct opposites, a trend that continued even as Portal 2 added more elements to the mix. Blue repulsion gel acts as a trampoline, and orange propulsion gel rockets you forward with a speed boost. Likewise, excursion funnels push you away when they're blue. Reverse the polarity, and they'll pull you back toward the source while colored orange.
Color coordination is very important for organization. For example, I use a lot of white.
You know, Portal 2's conversion gel is actually white as well. A nice neutral tone that complements its ability to open portals on any surface it coats. That comes in later chapters of the game, as part of the ramp up to the finale. That progression is another factor that ties these games together. Every element I talked about so far, portals, dimensions, turrets, timers, gels, Dolly, they're all introduced piece by piece. In both Portal games, you don't even get the portal gun right away, and when you do, it only fires blue at first. Quantum Conundrum introduces its 4 dimensions in the order I've been reciting: fluffy first, heavy second, slow third, and reverse gravity fourth. Once they're introduced, they're mixed and matched depending on the thrust of each individual puzzle. You rarely get to use all 4 in a single chamber, but it's a real treat when you do. It's special when Portal fuses its elements together too. Sending gel through an excursion funnel is a fusion of the old and new schools at Aperture. More on those in a moment. Bringing all of these puzzle pieces together is exciting for both developers and players. For the devs, it's a way to see all their ideas come to fruition, like when chefs present entrees and side dishes together on a single plate. For us, it's a true test of the skills we've learned up until that point. These games share physics-based mechanics too. In terms of puzzle games, physics usually just means you can pick stuff up and make objects interact with one another. This leads to some truly creative puzzle solving. One of my favorite tropes is the mid-air catch, or handoff. In Portal's case, it's often achieved with aerial faith plates, which fling you into the air. In Quantum Conundrum, there are multiple instances like throwing an object to yourself in slow motion, or sending an object off on a certain trajectory while you're moving yourself. Furthermore, the physics-based nature of the games leads to multiple, and sometimes even fudged, solutions. I could have raised a wall to stop this cube in midair, but I sped things up by catching it myself. And I don't think that landing on a pipe is the intended solution for this basketball puzzle, but it sure does work.
Well played.
Quantum Conundrum even offers a late-game puzzle where you can start with any of the 4 dimensions and implement the other 3 by the time you leave the room.
Choice. That is pro-science.
This progression of increasingly harder and more intricate puzzles is par for the course for the genre, but it's the packaging that really makes Portal and Quantum Conundrum feel like cousins. When you first enter Quadrangle Manor, the dimensions go haywire. This is the incident that traps your uncle off screen. Portal 2 starts off in a similar way, showing off the Aperture facility in a state of disrepair after the defeat of GLaDOS in the first game. From there, it's a matter of moving through each puzzle, chamber by chamber. The vents in these games even look quite similar at times. In Portal, the chambers are connected by elevators, and each ride offers a chance for GLaDOS to get in a few barbs about your performance.
In fact, you did so well, I'm going to note this on your file, in the commendation section. Oh, there's lots of room here. Did well. Enough.
In Quantum Conundrum, each room is connected by a hallway, giving Uncle Quadrangle the chance to fill you in on your family history.
The first building raised on Quadrangle land wasn't much to look at. But I can assure you, the pipe work was something impressive.
In many ways, your adventure through the manor is a journey through that history. The same goes for Portal 2 and its different levels of the Aperture facility. You have the standard test chambers, the original facility deep below, and behind-the-scenes factories full of conveyor belts and catwalks. Each biome has its own visual language, a combination of textures and colors. Quantum Conundrum takes this idea even further with a color scheme. The blue wing is regal and put together, featuring hallways lined with suits of armor. The yellow wing is like a basement, with broken walls and exposed planks. Finally, the red wing is like an attic or series of vents, with pipes of science juice running all throughout. To reiterate, all puzzle games feature some manner of ramping up through each individual test, but there's a cohesion here. Portal's facility is one single campus, Quantum Conundrum's manor is a massive house, and both are practically characters in their own right. Your progressions through these physical spaces even complement one another. Much like how the portals and dimensions are inversions of each other, your journeys through each of these games run in similar but different directions. Portal and Portal 2 are breakouts. You very much want to escape this facility by any means necessary. Quantum Conundrum is a break-in. You're exploring the manor to find a way to crack open the pocket dimension where your uncle is trapped.
I remember now! There's a pocket dimension there as part of the machine's failsafe. That's why I'm in the pocket dimension. I put myself here on purpose!
And yes, there are twists in both of these respective IPs. Freeing your uncle means trapping yourself inside the same pocket dimension in exchange. Portal ends with Chell being dragged away after seemingly escaping from Aperture, and the sequel finally lets her free once GLaDOS is fed up with her. In both cases, the twist leaves us wanting more. pining for closure from additional games that we never got.
Yes, I understand this longing. You know, I wanted to be a masseuse when I was little.
In the case of Portal, we did get something of a third game. I view Quantum Conundrum as a spiritual successor. We've spent the last little while following the scientific method, so let's go to that last step. It's time to present our findings. First, the games have a shared development history. One of the key people, Kim Swift, was heavily involved in both properties. As for the games themselves, Portal and Quantum Conundrum share so much DNA. There are companions and mascots overseeing your every move, anthropomorphized objects that would otherwise be mundane, puzzle elements that lean on changing phases and color-coded mechanics, a steady progression of difficulty, and a layout that leads you through each challenge, joke, and environment, up to a finale that might not play out exactly as you expect. Some may chalk that up to the way puzzle games are constructed, but that wasn't always the case when this trilogy of games was first introduced. There's more than just mechanical similarity here. There's a magic, a sense of humor, a je ne sais quoi that puts Portal and Quantum Conundrum on the same family tree.
The scientific method usually deals with objective truths, but I see your point.
One element that can't be argued against is Portal's massive influence. It's clear as day in Quantum Conundrum and other puzzle games, but it's bled into even more recent experiences. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart's instant dimension hopping owes at least some thanks to Portal, as it lets you seamlessly jump around the map. More directly, Splitgate took Halo-style multiplayer and fused it with straight-up portals, opening up its shooting to totally new strategies. Portal and Portal 2 are legendary, and it's a shame we never got a proper Portal 3. But if you ask me, Quantum Conundrum is the next best thing. I can't recommend the full trilogy enough.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what Framework is doing, definitely hit that subscribe button in the middle. It would help me out an awful lot if you do. And if you want to see what we've already cooked up, you can hit that link on the far left. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.